Canada's big banks are giving some customers a break on their banking fees. The Finance Minister, Joe Oliver, announced today that Canada's 8 largest banks will make no-cost accounts available to some financially vulnerable people, young people, students, seniors qualifying for the Guaranteed Income Supplement, and people who have registered disability savings plans will all be able to bank for free. This is the no-fee business. The voluntary guidelines will come into effect next January, but does this agreement go far enough to help low-income people? And will the banks actually stick to a voluntary commitment? To talk about that and some other issues, the Finance Minister, Joe Oliver, is here. Good to see you.
Great to be here.
No fee to have you come here. I just want people to know that. It's fully transparent.
That's good.
Why make this a voluntary agreement? Why not enforce it?
Well, because there's no need to enforce it. Clearly, when you're dealing with the 8 largest chartered banks in Canada, and they make a commitment at the top level, they're going to comply.
Okay, now the question is, do they always comply to their voluntary promises? CARP, which is the advocacy group for retired people, say they welcome the changes, but they say banks actually break their promises, and they sent us a statement. They say the promise by the banks is encouraging on this, but the banks have already committed to the Financial Consumer Agency of Canada that they would offer no-frill accounts. That promise did not prevent TD from cancelling the low-cost seniors account. What has changed? This is the 2 years ago TD canceled the free seniors accounts. So they did something and then they went back on it.
Well, look, they've made a commitment to us, to the Government of Canada, that they're going to do this. I find it impossible to believe that they won't comply. And if for some reason one bank didn't, there's a competitive issue in play. People have a choice. Of course, they can always move to the bank that is offering a free service.
But it's happened before, I guess. So in TD's case, these free seniors accounts were clawed back. So they get the publicity, aren't we great people? But there's less publicity when they clawed back.
Evan, you can bring me back if they renege on their commitment to the Minister of Finance. I don't see that happening.
What about, do they pass on, banks are in the business to make money. They're not an instrument of policy. What prevents the banks from passing on costs on a different place to pay for these free accounts?
Well, first of all, look, what they're doing, I think, makes good business sense. I mean, some of the people who are going to benefit from the cost-free accounts are students. And the history is that when people bank with a particular charter bank, they tend to stick with that charter bank for a very long time. So they're building business for the future. Also, I think it's in their interest to be good corporate citizens, and that's what they're trying to do.
Now, the other concern is that there's a pick and choose. Why not make this for all low-income people? Because the Canada Without Poverty has raised this concern. They say, quote, the measure is not comprehensive in scope and focuses on specific groups of low-income people while leaving the vast majority without support. While Minister Joe Oliver touts 7 million people will have access to these accounts, including youth, approximately 90% of people living in poverty may not. What do you say to that?
Well, I don't accept that statistic at all. We're talking about 7 million people. It extends far beyond people who are poor. So it's going to catch them, and it's going to catch a lot of other people who are vulnerable or who are starting off in their careers. Look, this is a very good thing. When you offer free banking services to 7 million Canadians, Evan, it's a good thing.
What about ATM fees for the rest of us?
Well, for the rest of
well, I mean, not ATM.
Some
people say those ATM fees drive people bonkers. Would the government intervene on those?
We're not going to intervene on that. And you know that it's free if you stick with your own bank. And I understand that some banks give 2 free transactions a month anyway.
Okay. Are you concerned about a housing bubble? They're concerned about the interest rates, whether low or high. Where are you on that? About you look at cities like Vancouver, Toronto. You've got housing prices are going up. Wages can't seem to keep up. There's got to be a point where you're concerned of how these prices keep rising.
Well, look, we're monitoring the housing market very closely, and that's something the government ought to do. We're also monitoring consumer debt, but we've noticed also that the ratio of assets to debt has not deteriorated because home prices have in fact continued to go up.
Right.
I'm not concerned about a bubble at this point. I don't see the numbers indicating that, and in fact CMHC has recently come out with a report saying they're looking for a soft landing.
All right. PBO report today says federal tax cuts since 2005 will result in a loss of $30 billion of revenue.
No, that isn't, Evan, that's not a loss of $30 billion of revenue. That's a tax reduction of $30 billion, and I'm extremely proud of that and happy that we have reduced
loss of
taxes
revenue for the
annual.
government.
Well, whenever you don't tax people, the alternative is that they get to keep the money, and we're very happy to see Canadians keep more of their money. And there's several reasons for that. First of all, it's a good thing. Canadians are happier, as they should be, to keep more of their hard-earned money. But the other thing is, if you raise taxes, you can stunt economic growth.